Risking her own safety, she channeled a surge of her divine energy through her body. Her skin shimmered as the aspect of the god of death surged within her, and the marauder's assault was met with a force that left him disoriented and defeated. The villagers, now emboldened by her intervention, rallied together, driving the remaining marauders away. In the aftermath, the settlement's elders expressed their heartfelt gratitude. They spoke of an ancient prophecy, of a divine summoner who would rise to protect the realm in times of great peril. And in that moment, Juju realized that the scroll's warnings were not empty words, but a foretelling of her own journey. As dusk settled, Juju helped the villagers tend to their wounded and rebuild what had been lost. In the quiet of the evening, while the embers of the communal fire danced in the twilight, she listened to their stories of hardship and hope. Each tale of suffering and resilience further fueled her determination to embrace her destiny. Not for glory or power alone, but for the well-being of all who were unable to defend themselves. Though her heart ached with the memories of battles fought and sacrifices made, she knew that every act of selflessness was a step toward personal growth, a lesson in the true nature of strength. That night, as she returned to her shelter, the pendant and scroll secured close to her heart, Juju gazed at the stars with renewed clarity. The divine world was fraught with danger and mystery, yet it also pulsed with the promise of redemption, wisdom, and unity. The seeds of transformation were now firmly planted, and as the gentle wind whispered through the trees, she vowed to pursue every treasure, every lead, and every opportunity to uplift those around her. Day 5. The Crucible of Sacrifice and the Birth of a Guardian. The fifth day dawned with a storm of turmoil, a prelude to the ultimate test of Juju's burgeoning powers and her commitment to protecting the innocent. Word had spread throughout the region of a sinister force gathering at the edge of the plateau, a malevolent presence that threatened not only the newly rebuilt village, but the entire surrounding region. Reports spoke of a monstrous Entitia, corrupted spirit of the land manifesting in twisted forms and unleashing chaotic energy that could unravel the delicate balance between life and death. Juju knew that confronting such a force would require every ounce of strength, every shred of divine power, and most importantly, a heart unburdened by fear. Determined to face this darkness head-on, she set out from her shelter with the relics of the past, the pendant and scrolland, a resolve forged in the fires of compassion. The storm that had gathered in the sky mirrored the turbulence in her soul as she advanced toward the source of the disturbance. The journey was arduous. The terrain grew rugged and treacherous, the land scarred by previous calamities that had left deep fissures and tangled underbrush in its wake. With every step, Juju's mind revisited the lessons of the past days, the importance of self-sacrifice, the strength derived from protecting those who could not protect themselves, and the power of ancient knowledge entrusted to her by fate. The wind's scythe was a comforting presence, its silent promise of unwavering support echoing in her every stride, while the whispered counsel of the floating manual urged her forward. At the crest of a steep ridge, she finally beheld the source of the disturbance. In a desolate valley below, shrouded in swirling mists and the acrid scent of decay, a monstrous figure loomed. It was as if the very essence of death had taken form, a twisted amalgamation of shadow and flame, its eyes burning with an otherworldly malice. The creature's presence sapped the light from the surroundings, casting an ominous pall over the land. And yet, even in this darkness, Juju recognized a familiar spark. The aspect of death, but corrupted and unbalanced, a force that must be corrected. The entity roared, its voice echoing off the canyon walls as it unleashed a wave of destructive energy that shattered boulders and sent tremors through the valley. The villagers and survivors that had taken refuge in the nearby settlement trembled in terror, their hopes dwindling in the face of such overwhelming force. Without hesitation, Juju surged forward, her heart pounding with a mix of determination and empathy. Drawing deeply on the divine power granted to her, she raised her hand and invoked the summoned subject of death, a power that allowed her to call upon the forces of the afterlife. The air around her thickened as spectral figures materialized, ethereal guardians whose faces were both solemn and resolute. These beings, neither fully alive nor entirely dead, served as the delicate balance between life's end and renewal. They moved with a quiet grace, circling Juju as if forming a protective barrier around her. As the monstrous entity advanced, its malevolent energy colliding with the divine aura emanating from Juju. A fierce battle unfolded. The clash was titanic forces of light and dark intermingled in bursts of radiant power and searing shadows. Juju's wind scythe cut through the onslaught of debris and spectral tendrils, while her grim harvest ensured that every fragment of shattered stone and lost energy was swiftly drawn back to her, reconstituting the harmony of the land. Yet, despite her formidable powers, the creature's relentless assault threatened to overwhelm her. In the midst of the chaos, a desperate cry reached her ears, a cry, not of the enemy, but of a villager trapped beneath the debris of a collapsed structure. Without a moment's hesitation, Juju wrenched her focus from the battle. With a look of steely resolve, she surged toward the sound. Every heartbeat thundered in her ears as she navigated through the crumbling remnants of the once protected village. There, amid twisted metal and broken stone, lay an elderly man pinned beneath a heavy slab of rock. His eyes, wide with terror and pain, pleaded for help. Juju's heart clenched at the sight. Here was a moment that demanded true self-sacrifice, a moment where her own battle could wait for the sake of another's life. Positioning herself between the man and the encroaching darkness of the monstrous entity, she summoned every iota of her strength. The wind's scythe roared to life around her, slicing away obstacles and clearing a path, while the divine energy within her surged in a protective cocoon. With careful precision, she began to lift the heavy slab, using not only her physical might but the spiritual power coursing through her veins. The effort was immense, each second stretching into an eternity as she strained against the crushing weight. But the thought of leaving the man behind, of allowing despair to claim another life, propelled her onward. Finally, with a final surge of determination, the slab was lifted, and Juju managed to free the trapped villager. The old man, trembling but grateful, clutched her hand. "Thank you. You saved me," he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. In that quiet exchange, amid the clamor of the battle, Juju realized that true strength was measured not in the number of foes vanquished, but in the willingness to place others' needs before her own. Her act of self-sacrifice came at a cost. The intense strain of lifting the slab left her momentarily vulnerable. The monstrous entity seized the opportunity, unleashing a concentrated blast of corrupt energy in a bid to finish her off. Time slowed as Juju braced herself, her eyes closing briefly as she channeled the essence of the divine through her body. The summoned subject of death rallied behind her, and spectral guardians surged forward, their ethereal forms merging with her own power. In a dazzling explosion of light and darkness, the force collided with her, and for a moment, the very fabric of existence trembled. When the tumult subsided, the valley fell into a heavy, breathless silence. The monstrous entity, its form dissipating like mist under the morning sun, retreated into the darkness from which it had emerged. The villagers, having witnessed the spectacle, emerged from their hiding places with cautious hope. They gathered around Juju, their expressions a mixture of awe and gratitude, while the rescued old man embraced her with trembling hands. Exhausted but resolute, Juju knew that this victory was not hers alone, belonged to everyone who had dared to dream of a better, safer world. In the quiet aftermath of the battle, as she tended to the wounded and comforted the frightened, she felt the profound weight of her responsibilities. The divine relic she carried, the pendant, and the ancient scroll seemed to shimmer in the twilight, affirming that her journey was far from over. In the days that followed, news of her heroic deed spread like wildfire. Survivors from neighboring settlements sought her counsel, and many came forward with fragments of legends and lore that hinted at greater treasures hidden deep within the divine realm. Each tale was a piece of a larger mosaic narrative of loss, sacrifice, and redemption that transcended mortal limitations. Juju began to understand that her role was not merely as a solitary summoner, but as a guardian of this fractured, yet beautiful, world. Her days merged into a continuous cycle of discovery and service. She ventured into forgotten valleys, ancient ruins, and mystical glades where the air was thick with the energy of bygone eras. With every treasure unearthed, a fragment of a celestial map here, an intricately designed talisman there, she pieced together the history of the divine realm. These relics, imbued with stories of valor and wisdom, were not just material wealth, but keys to unlocking the deeper mysteries of life and death. They spoke of a time when the balance between the two forces was meticulously maintained by those chosen by the gods. Now, Juju was learning that to restore that balance, She had to embrace the very qualities that define true leadership: empathy, courage, and the readiness to sacrifice for the greater good. One such discovery occurred on a misty afternoon when she explored an overgrown temple hidden within a grove of ancient oaks. The temple, though worn by time, retained an aura of regality and reverence. Inside, amidst shattered pillars and moss-covered altars, lay a cache of blueprints detailing the construction of what appeared to be a sanctuarian edifice that would serve as both a refuge and a repository of divine knowledge. These blueprints, along with several scrolls, inscribed with intricate diagrams of celestial alignments, promised to upgrade her shelter into a stronghold capable of withstanding both physical and metaphysical storms. Yet, even as she reveled in these treasures, her heart was heavy with the realization that such knowledge must not be hoarded for personal gain. In a moment of quiet introspection beneath the temple's crumbling dome, Juju resolved that she would share these gifts with those in need. She organized meetings with local elders and scholars, discussing ways to reconstruct lost libraries and communal halls where wisdom could be preserved and passed on to future generations. In doing so, she not only advanced her own sanctuary, but also kindled a spirit of unity among the scattered survivors of the divine realm. But challenges were not confined to external adversaries. Within her, too, a battle waged the struggle between the remnants of her old life as the world's greatest athlete and the emerging identity of a protector and divine summoner. In quiet moments, when the moon hung high and the weight of responsibility pressed upon her, Juju questioned if she was truly worthy of the divine mantle bestowed upon her.